I don't even think a man should go in public with his feet exposed. Women.
Well, you chastised Howard last week about doing that.
I did.
Walking around with his...
A man needs to wear shoes that cover his feet. If you're in a locker room and you got shower shoes on, I get that. I've been in a lot of locker rooms from football and wrestling, and you wear shower shoes because you're in a bathroom and a shower that you're not familiar with. You don't know if it's been cleaned well. But no, when you're out in public, I think it's a man's job and obligation not to show his ugly feet.
Mally loves it from Coy Little. I'm just stuck with it.
She does love it. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
But according to Mally, not even close to how much I love the Beatles, Del.
How about that? Well, I'm surprised. But listen, that shows...
Well, I'm going to ask you a question because, guys, that's what we do over here. We shoot straight from the hip. This is a question I have for you. Now, if you were to prioritize in terms of the do not bother me with this list, 90 Day Fiancé, the Beatles. That's the matchup I'm looking for over here.
All right, here's what I'll tell you about that. If I had a choice of being locked in a room for 24 hours, send me the Beatles album. Send me the catalog.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So, Mally, look, Del Wilkes has actually brought up the fact that there is a circumstance out there that might be a little bit unrealistic, but yes, it would actually enable Del to listen to the Beatles if he had to when compared to 90 Day Fiancé. So
under those circumstances, and Mally's love for the show is she loves it, obviously, but we also see how much Coy loves Mally and that he would sit down with Mally and watch this godforsaken show.
Oh, well, I got a message for Coy just to piggyback off this. And, guys, we don't plan anything. Mally loves it. I'm stuck with it. Every single time Coy Little is stuck with watching a show that he doesn't want to watch, he doesn't want to watch, but he also knows that he has to be a great husband and support his wife the way she supports him. That's what a partnership really is, and they epitomize all that, so we give them a lot of credit. But every single time, he has to keep his emotions to himself because he's sitting down watching a bunch of stinky feet and a bunch of 90-day fiancés that don't even know one another or are trying to get along and trying to talk to one another, and there's a lot more common sense, even though you can't make sense out of nonsense. There's a lot more common sense in the green room than there is when you're watching 90 Day Fiancé, and he knows that. That's why he sweats. But guess what? Once he starts perspirating, he reaches for his right guard. He reaches for his right guard because he knows that sometimes they have those binge fests where they have to watch marathon episodes of that rotten show. So he grabs his right guard, extreme defense. It lasts up to 72 hours. So even though they're binge watching it, right guard's there. It takes care of him. It makes sure that it goes down a lot easier when he's watching those shows when he knows he's not going to sweat it out, Del Wilkes.
I love the organic nature of this topic, this date in history. Who would have ever thought that we'd end up doing half a segment about Mally and Coy and 90 Day Fiancé?
I love it.
Yeah.
Guys,
good stuff.
That's what we do. And you know what? Billy, what's this? You're supporting right guard. Thank you for that. Coy Little, we should do a March Madness-style bracket with everything that Del hates. You know what? March is coming around. Hey, 2 more months. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
amen there, Coy. Eric John, men who wear flip-flops wearing jeans should be ticketed.
Amen, Eric.
I can't really argue with that. Joel Bateman, I'm a metalhead and I like old school country too. Well, great, sure, yeah. We'll bring up some music. I think there's actually one topic as it pertains to music in this date in history. And, of course, whether it's 10, 15 minutes on cartoons like we spoke about last week or 90 Day Fiancé, you'll never know what you might get on Unmasking the Truth.
That's it.
Something else that occurred, 1922, the first living person identified on a U.S. coin was this guy. I will give my entire salary as a writer if anybody can guess who this guy is. This is the first guy that was on a U.S. coin, guys and gals. No, it ain't Washington. Not Lincoln. Who is it? Who is this guy? He was the first person that was ever on a U.S. coin. I see people Googling and typing, so that doesn't count. If you tell me in 5 seconds, you get my entire salary. Yes, you do.
Tell me this, Avi. What did he do?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. This particular individual wasn't. You know what? If I say it, I think I might give it away. I don't want to give it a hint.
That's fine. Don't do that.
Yeah, I won't do that. I want to. Yeah, I will say this, though, guys. It was on the Alabama Centennial $50. So you really have to know your stuff there. Hey, that might be a little bit of a trivia. Was it Rockefeller? No. Coy Little, but close. It wasn't Rockefeller. But again, anybody. Well, right now I think people could just probably Google that and get the answer, so maybe it won't even count. But I'll keep doing this. Once a week I'll bring up the most random question, Del, as it pertains to history, and there'll be some kind of like reward attached if somebody can answer it in half a minute. We'll do that. Another portion of this date in history, 1925, Benito Mussolini dissolves the Italian parliament and proclaims himself dictator of Italy. Didn't turn out too well for Mr. Mussolini. He was shot along with his wife, and then Dell, after that, he was stoned. He was actually stoned.
And weren't they hung upside down as well?
Yeah, upside down while they were stoned and spit on.
Yeah, in public. And boy, what a cocky, arrogant individual too. You've seen some of the videos of him and that cocky, arrogant nature, and just a narcissist to the nth degree. He got what he deserved,
without question. We also will now, I think, be a bit. Well, no, we still have some more early 20th century this date in history. Montreal Maroons center Nell Stewart scores fastest 2 goals in NHL history, with a pair 4 seconds apart in a 5-3 win over the Boston Bruins. I actually found this interesting that since 1931, nobody scored 2 goals quicker or around that time frame. 4 seconds? I mean, I'm not taking away from that, but that record still holds today, Dale.
That's amazing. No wonder it still holds today. That's highly improbable to be able to do that.
Sure. Fast forward 15 years later, 1946. Mickey Doyle at this point is getting a bit older. I think he's about maybe in his 40s. 1946, as a reward for his wartime cooperation, Governor Thomas E. Dewey commutes Charles Lucky Luciano's pandering sentence on condition that he does not resist deportation to Italy. Luciano, his luck ran out. Wasn't as lucky anymore.
No, absolutely. I've read about that, and he was sent packing.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. 1961, the U.S. breaks diplomatic relations with Cuba. Not going to get passionate about this one. We will probably delve into it. Not probably. We will delve into it during our exclusive shows on the Patreon when we start talking about certain this date in histories and expand upon them. Because, man, if I get started on this, Del, I know you as well. We're not going to. We'll be able to record 3 shows in one right now, guys. It'll be the first Unmasking the Truth marathon if we delve into this.
I do want to touch on it in this sense.
Yeah.
You think about this. In just a couple of days, we've got a runoff in Georgia for 2 Senate seats. And one of the Democrats, Raphael Warnock, who claims to be a preacher, now God's not within 75 miles of this man, has had Fidel Castro in a church that he pastored. He had Fidel Castro in there to give a speech or to preach, any way you want to describe it. But he welcomed with open arms a communist, murderous, dictating thug into his church to preach a message, and the people in the church applauded and loved it. That guy is running for a Senate seat in the United States of America in the state of Georgia. That is scary.
Without question. And you know what? I definitely want to expand upon this. Not to sound boring here, it was one of the topics I was thinking about. I wrote a dissertation paper on this. People forget that during the Batista regime, Cuba was kind of like Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Americans frequented Cuba. It was a hot spot. Of course, that all ended. Officially, it ended in 1961, following the Cuban Revolution of 59. And we'll delve into that more specifically because there's so much we could talk about. We might even start with the Bay of Pigs. That's definitely something that's interesting. How that went down. Talk about a snowball effect as it pertains to commanders and chiefs that we've had and foreign policy. Many say that Bay of Pigs actually had maybe about a 30-year, or at least a 35-year stranglehold on how a lot of presidents viewed their own military and Central Intelligence Agency as well. So the Bay of Pigs is definitely a topic I want to talk about. Just don't want to shortchange it, but yes, very, very important to delve into. As we move on, 1971, some sports. First NFC Championship. Dallas Cowboys beat the San Francisco 49ers. Final score 17-10, 1971.
That's about the time, I don't remember that specific game, but that's about the time I was 10 years old that I really started following the NFL.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And remember, I can't tell you why, but I grew up a Los Angeles Rams fan.
Right.
Roman Gabriel, Jack Stone, Merlin Olsen, Deacon Jones, and then during the early 70s.
Well, they also received a lot of airplay at that time, right?
They did.
Yeah.
But about 72 or 73, they hired Chuck Knox as their head coach. The Rams did, and they became a powerhouse in that NFC West that they were in back then. But they never could get past the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Championship game until the 1979 season they finally beat Dallas for the NFC Championship, which put them in the 1980 Super Bowl, which the Rams lost to the Steelers. But that's where my strong hatred for the Dallas Cowboys grew out of, is the fact that my Los Angeles Rams could never beat them.
I can totally understand that. And you guys can probably totally understand why. What a return this was. In 1973, a 12-man syndicate led by George Steinbrenner buys the New York Yankees from CBS for $10 million. Right now, $3.2 billion. Quite a return, huh, Del?
I would say so. Pretty good investment there. And, boy, what a run that they had when you think about the 90s, the late 90s, and even on into the 2000s with Mariano as a closer. Man, what a dynasty they were. And I may have told you this, Avi, but in baseball, obviously right. I was a Braves fan because of geography.
Sure.
But I was a big Reggie Jackson fan. And wherever Reggie played, I pulled for that team. In his years with the Yankees, man, they were on fire. In that famous World Series game against the Dodgers, where he hit 3 home runs on 3 pitches. His first time at bat, he walked 4 straight balls. He never even swung at them. He walked. The next 3 times he came up, first pitch, home run, first pitch, home run, first pitch, home run. Reggie did, and led the Yankees to the 77, I think, World Series title over the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, and when I think of George Steinbrenner, who's no longer with us now, I think of Larry David playing George Steinbrenner in Seinfeld, which I just think is hilarious. One of the funniest, and of course you never actually see Steinbrenner, but you do hear the Steinbrenner-isms that people used to talk about. Fast-talking guy. Good stuff. We will now fast forward. Where are we now? Are we in 1977? Yes. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak incorporate Apple Computer. There was a third partner, a silent partner, who actually did not decide to hold on to that stock, Del. To this day, and he's still with us, he regrets that decision.
You think so?
I'm just venturing. Yeah. 1987 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducts first female artist Aretha Franklin. What a voice she had, huh, Del?
Yeah, absolutely. A very, very, very talented lady, and who left us just a couple of years back, I think, right?
I believe so.
Since she passed.
Yeah, I think it might have been 2007. I can't recall when it was, but what a voice she had. Absolutely. I remember it was a sensation when she passed away. Made global news. 1990, Panama's leader, General Manuel Noriega, surrenders to U.S. authorities. A bit of a coup. Don't want to bring this up. Of course, the guy tried to do whatever he could. There was a bit of an espionage mission as well, as it pertains to that. But again, that might take a while to get into. But it happened 30 years ago on this date, Del. 31 years ago, or 2021.
That's hard to believe. I have very vivid memories of that. It took several days. They played loud rock and roll music nonstop,
right.
blinding lights that they would shine into the house or the building where he was holed up at, and that nonstop music. And what a mug he had on him, huh? Ugly guy, too.
What a mug on him. And, he considered seeking sanctuary, guys. A lot of people don't know this. In the Cuban or Nicaraguan embassies, again, didn't work out too well for him. Both of those buildings were surrounded by U.S. troops. What a story that was, as far as his capture is concerned. But, yes, what a mug. We are now in the tail end of the show, and a couple of more items for this date in history. Next week, we have a fun game playing with a returning David Holliday. That'll be great. 1993, the comeback, of course. Frank Reich leads the Buffalo Bills back from and I remember this game, from a 32-point deficit to defeat the Houston Oilers, Del, 41-38 in overtime in a wild card playoff game, which is the greatest, officially, comeback game ever in NFL history.
There's a sidebar to that, too, and I watched that game, and it was a phenomenal comeback. Once they got on the roll and got momentum, I mean, the Oilers just looked, they had that deer in the headlight look about them. They knew that this snowball, this avalanche was on them, and they couldn't do anything about it. Now, I don't know if this still stands, but at the time Frank did that, he was also responsible for the biggest comeback win in college football history.
Yes.
When he played at Maryland, I think they were down 31-0, 37-0 to Miami, and he led them back to a win. So it may still be that way, but for a while, the guy that had overcome the biggest deficit in NFL did it in college as well.
Which is incredible when you think about that. The guy did it twice. And guys, I will say this twice, 3 times, 20 times if I have to. Paul Roma, a great great human being who's joining us now. Thank you so much for the shout out, Paul.
Hey, Paul, thank you, man. I enjoy watching.